Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us. Gosh, we've got a lot to talk about over the next week. We've got a storm in the Southern Ocean that's going to make for a windy Easter weekend and stormy in some areas. And we've got a tropical cyclone to the north right now, which is pretty significant for Vanuatu, and that's where we start. Tropical Cyclone Harold. Much bigger than what the government forecasters were expecting. They were going with a category 3. It's now 5. Now, it might weaken a wee bit back to 4, but the difference between where it is now and being a strong category 4 is very, very little, just a few kilometers of an hour difference. So this is major for Vanuatu. It's going to be tracking just north of Port Vila over the next 12 to 24 hours, and then it moves out to the east, and that's where it speeds up. So there's some good news. On Tuesday, it moves away quite quickly from Vanuatu, but southwestern parts of Fiji and the southern islands south of Fiji more exposed in the next couple of days as it moves past, and it may still be category 3 by then. Here's the latest animated satellite map. You can see the eye of the storm here in the middle. It is very close to making landfall over Monday as it moves through. But as you can see, there are various islands, so it could make 2 or 3 landfalls as it tracks across over the next 24 hours. This is the tracking of it in higher detail, courtesy of our friends at the Weather Company and IBM. And as you can see, it tracks right over these islands just to the north of Port Vila. So it's good to see that the capital is avoiding a direct hit. But when it is that close, and this is the cone of uncertainty that is forming, you can see it is very, very close for severe weather to be brushing the main island. Then it moves out, or the main capital, I should say. Then it moves out further to sea, and it starts to weaken a little bit there. Apologies for the miles per hour, but the wind speed in kilometers an hour, gusting to 275 as it makes landfall there in Vanuatu today or tonight. Let's move through now. Here is Tuesday's setup. So 948 hectopascals. That's very, very low air pressure as it starts to move out to the east. I also want you to focus on that air pressure number, 948, because the storm that's forming in the Southern Ocean this weekend is going to be around 950, might be 960, but 950, 960, very deep, but size-wise, the one that's moving in down here is ginormous compared to this system up here, but both will have similar air pressure in the middle. So we might explain that a bit later in the week, why it is that way. But basically in the Southern Ocean, they spread out bigger and the energy gets spread further. In the tropics, it's pushed in. So this is a major storm right in the middle. The further away from it, the less there is to talk about. Now on Tuesday in the South Island, rain clouds moving up the west coast. The northwest winds pick up a little bit. Not much really going on. Still fairly settled over the North Island. By Wednesday, it's still fairly calm, but that will change as the day wears on. The low, it's more of a trough, little pothole in the sky with a few showers around it. Some could be heavy. There's even a chance of isolated thunder into the afternoon as it slowly moves in. And the storm up here, still major, south to southwest of Fiji as we get in towards Wednesday. By Thursday, the cyclone up here now, perhaps more of a risk for Tonga, and it could still be a severe Cat 3 system by then, but should be weakening quite quickly as it starts to move further and further southeast. Over New Zealand, windy on Thursday. That's the new change coming through, and the temperatures drop a wee bit as well. Nothing too major though, but a bit of a temperature drop. By Good Friday, a couple of showers in the north. You can see those winds picking up, and stormy stuff south of New Zealand is the reason why. This is that big, growing, developing system. So windy conditions around on Good Friday, but it hopefully won't be too major in the North Island. In fact, fairly light winds for some of you up here in this northeastern corner like Gisborne. But the winds do pick up further as you go into the weekend. So on Saturday, wet weather arrives on the west coast, wet weather moves into Southland and coastal parts of Otago, windy over the North Island, but actually fairly dry, nothing too major for you. By Easter Sunday, here's this big storm in the Southern Ocean, 964 hectopascals at that stage, so pretty big. That's not as deep as it gets either. That's just the one on Sunday showing how close it is. Windy right across New Zealand, wet weather in the south, wet weather in the west, just a few showers for the North Islands, northern and western areas, otherwise dry right along that eastern side and dry through central areas, but certainly pretty windy. Now this is also the ECMWF maps from Europe. also for Easter Sunday, and it's a different story by them. It shows the low, same air pressure, about 960, but it's right up against Fiordland and not down here as the American maps just showed. So there's still some uncertainty, and it's that uncertainty that means you need to be up to date. You also need to think about your essential items, things in case of a power cut. And also with COVID-19, everyone's saying don't worry about taking bottled water. Absolutely true. But just keep in mind, if you get a power cut and you live in an area that has, you might have a pump, and if the pump goes out, you don't have water, that's a situation where you might want to think about bottled water, or at least saving your own water this week and putting it into containers, because there could be some power cuts. But this is not yet locked in, so join us across this week. We'll be doing videos right through until Thursday as we track the weather as we lead into Easter weekend. That's all from me. We'll see you tomorrow.